Stonehenge marks the solstices and the equinoxes. Stonehenge was built between the years 1900 and 1600 BC. There's no written record of how to use it. Can you imagine trying to figure out how to use a scientific calculator without the instructions? You know that there are things like sines and cosines and square roots and inverse tangent, but then you've got to figure out, well, it's second function and then the shift button and then this. How do you transmit instructions when you don't have a written language? You're explaining to the next generation. What you do when you want to use this is you stand here and you look through those stones. There's like all this debate about how to use Stonehenge and how it was set up, but there are definitely sight lines for sunrise, winter solstice, sunrise on the summer solstice, sunrise on the equinoxes. And the important thing about that is the sun keeps getting lower and lower in the sky. Somebody knowledgeable wants to be able to tell people, this is going to stop. Don't worry. It'll come back again. And when it gets to that point where it's about to stop, you go, yay, let's celebrate.
And that is a big chunk of Saturnalia,
right?
Upon which we base Christmas, and Yalda, which is the Persian festival of the solstice. The Iranians burn fires to help the sun make it back up. A sunny day exerts such an incredible effect on mood, ability to see the world. It is not surprising that it was worshipped as a god. We all take for granted the seasons, that the sun will come up every morning.
And we've got this mechanistic model for the earth going around the sun, and the earth has a tilt. You've seen the picture in the classic textbooks, so we believe that. Also, we live long enough now
that we can see it over a long period of time.
See it over and over and over again.
The other thing that is really delightful, inspiring, and humbling is this is yet another bit of ancient technology that we can't figure out. Like the pyramids, like the ruins of Zimbabwe, that you tend to think of the ancients as knuckleheads.
We don't know how they did it, right? And so there's a sort of generic sort of like kids these days. They don't know how to blah, 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 right? We don't know how to roll steel anymore to make battleships. Well, that's because we don't need battleships anymore. And if we did, we'd figure it out. You can imagine that for the ancient Druids, the guy who knew this and his apprentice who was learning it were really important guys. They didn't have to go out and plow the fields. They weren't in the front lines fending off the Celts. They had the knowledge that you needed to do this.
Like you. I mean, that's what the professors do. Well, you get to sit around and teach.
I do, yes. Right. Think about things and right.
Well, nobody wants you to install cable for TV.
Stonehenge isn't a one-off thing. Across all cultures, there are devices like this or sites like this. The Stonehenge is just one site of many that would have been around England. And then you've got different indigenous tribes in the Americas that had special buildings that have a hole where the sun would come through at the right time of day and hit a spot on the wall.
Where this gets, to me, like exceedingly human, in both at Stonehenge and at Boston University, is that when I tell a story, the fundamental human psychological activity is the reduction of uncertainty. As you point out, they wanted to know that the sun was going to come back, that the days were going to get longer. And this is really what people like you do, is that you want to figure out, well, what exactly happened? Why can we see that light? And what is the nature of that light that we come here? You want to reduce your uncertainty. A bunch of humanity isn't comfortable with not knowing, not having some story, some linear, understandable story to explain these bizarre things. And I assume that's what motivates, one of the things that motivates you as a physicist, a desire to reduce your uncertainty about the world.
Certainly come up with a mechanistic explanation for something.
Now, speaking of our buddy Ahmad Sadri, from the 9th and 10th and a little into the 11th centuries, the Muslims owned science. They owned science until Al-Ghazali came in and declared that mathematics was a tool of the devil, because he says that if you put a piece of cotton on the fire, it doesn't burn because of the oxidation of the material. It burns because that's what God wants. Anything that takes God out of the picture is just not kosher.
Christianity had that fight too, right? And it's still having that fight.
Of course, my favorite warrior in the fight to reduce uncertainty is my beloved sibling, Dr. Nicholas Gross, lecturer in physics at Boston University. Thank you.
Well, I'm always happy to have you as an ally.
You honor me, brother. I'm honored to be an ally of yours. Talk to you soon, brother.